My name is James Harkness. I am the owner of a video production company called Videra Media. I first met Carlington Booch when I was filming a spoken word video for one of my clients, and we needed a space to use. She knew John Ruby and asked if we could use a part of the church there to film one of the scenes, and he said sure. He asked me if I did hip-hop music at the end of the shoot, and surprisingly I did. And so he asked me if I would perform at his event, Ashes to Rubies. And I knew nothing about John Ruby, I knew nothing about Ashes to Rubies, but I said yes. He did me a favor, so why wouldn't I say yes to that? And I was like, cool, I get to do some hip-hop music. So I went to the event and I was able to see what this event did for people. And it was pretty incredible experience that I did not expect whatsoever, just to see, it's like their slogan is to give hope a platform, and that's exactly what it does. For people to be able to speak about their stories with no judgment and to get that out, and not just to get it out, but to feel like it gets rid of the shame, because you're saying it in front of a whole crowd of people and then you're getting applauded after. You're not getting told what a mess you are or how bad you are, whatever. You're congratulated, you're encouraged, you're loved throughout all your dirt that you just spilled out there, because everybody there is going through something similar probably, right? And so there's no judgment there. So after seeing the event take place, I also noticed that John Ruby was running around doing everything, trying to MC the event, trying to make sure the sound was good, trying to record the event with cameras. And so because I seen the impact that this event made, not realizing that I needed this kind of stuff myself, I volunteered to John and I said, hey, listen, let me do the camera work for you at no charge, because I can see how big of a help this is for these people. And I can see how much you need the help as well yourself to make the event flow properly. And I had no idea how much of a mess I was. All the trauma that I'd been through in my childhood that I just never dealt with. I didn't know that I had to deal with it, whatsoever. I didn't realize all these things that were driving me to have the thoughts I had, to have the beliefs I had, because I had found God at some point in my life and figured I was on the right track and figured I was doing the right things. But if you looked at my life and if you looked at the way my family situation was and the relationships I had with women and the way that I even had my business before, all these things were not in order. But I thought I was doing the right thing all the time. And I didn't realize how much I wasn't until I've been around people that have been actively working on these things for years themselves. I came from selling drugs since I was 12 years old. I was molested when I was a little kid. My dad was never around my whole life. So 12 years old, I'm sneaking out of the house to go smoke weed with the older kids, and started selling drugs because I thought, oh, well, I need to pay for my drugs, so let me buy this much, and if I buy this much, and if I sell this much, then I have this left to use. And so that's how pretty much everything started off. I found my identity as a drug dealer, being proud of who I was and that I was living how other rappers just rap about, and I had an ego attached to that and a pride attached to that. And then when I got arrested and I was facing 5 to 6 years in jail, a month before that I had found God. And then the whole identity shatters, because I realized that everything I thought was right was wrong. So now I didn't know right from wrong anymore, and I was lost, and I'm trying to follow God, and I'm going to church, and the church that I went to was a good church. They didn't judge me. They actually showed me love that I needed to, but they couldn't relate. They did have their own problems, but it was not anything similar to what I went through. They didn't have the same experiences. There was just nothing to relate to. They did love me though, which helped me through my journey. Walking with somebody like John, who doesn't judge you, and I think he knows when the time is right to really nail it into you, because he only did that recently to me, but he didn't do it before. I was smoking weed and drinking at certain points, and I quit at certain points, but the root causes were never removed. But being in that community is what actually helped me stop smoking weed for one of the first times. Really want to put it down, because I'm like, how can I be, smoking weed when all these people here are trying to be sober and trying to get right? And I'm like, I just felt there was almost that's so counterintuitive to be smoking weed before I go film Ashes to Rubies, and then having to hide it and make sure you don't smell like weed and always having that worry. And it's just when you're in the right environment, you bloom. and the right things grow, and then the other things die away. And so being in that kind of community has like really shone a light on the defects, I guess, that I didn't realize were there. Continuing my journey and having this place here where there was times where it's been on and off, because I think God brought me through different seasons of learning about my business and working with certain people that are in a business field, which helped me understand business in a whole different light. But I still had all those other issues, and I was drinking a lot, smoking. The relationship I was in was hell again. And I started to realize, man, there's something going on underneath that I need to figure out now. And when I say figure out, it's like I used to always have to figure it out. It's really hard to even let go and let God, that cliche saying. But that's what John always said, stop being the boss, you know? Like, who's in charge? You or God, right? God's the manager. He manages my life. Having conversations with John about my alcohol last year and saying, you know, I'm not convinced that alcohol is the problem, and if I fix these other things, then I can still drink. And he has a funny way of either not saying anything and letting you hear yourself. and he's not trying to control you either, because he's learned to, it's in God's hands, you know what I mean? And everybody has their own time. And by the end of last year, I was convinced that like the alcohol is no good for me. It doesn't benefit me. It just leads to hell no matter how much I try to manipulate it or put things in the right place or tell myself I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. It's just not good. And having a place to bounce my thoughts off of and to speak to people about really, I think, was really part of that healing process to get to that point. To be able to mess up and come back was a huge help. Then you realize that there's even deeper issues. You fix one thing and then you're like, holy, there's another thing. You know, it's like, okay, I don't want to drink anymore. God, remove that. I don't want to smoke weed anymore. God, remove that. And then I'm angry still. And now the anger's isolated. And it's like, I don't want to be angry anymore. And that gets removed. And then the lust kicks in. And it's like, I don't want to have this anymore either. And you start to feel like the purity that God wants you to have. And you start to see the things that are getting in the way of that. You know, walking with John and just talking with John and having the space available to come here and not be judged. And all these other people here at the Booch place are going through the same stuff and openly talking about it. And there's something that, like, when somebody else is being so vulnerable, you feel like you can be vulnerable as well. You don't have to protect yourself, or you don't have to worry about being accepted or not if they knew my deep, dark secrets. You don't get turned away when you come here. Like, you feel like you can tell these people anything and they'll still love you. They'll still walk through with you. They'll still open the door for you to come in. They still want you to come in. Not just open it for you, but they actually want you to. I remember getting messages from John, hey, you all right? What's going on? Like, just checking in on me, which means a lot, you know, just to know that somebody cares about you that much. It's a huge thing. And also it gives you purpose. Like, you really feel like you're helping out. You know, there's other people going through this stuff, and I was able to feel like I'm doing something productive and I'm helping other people. And this place really provides that. I don't think I even realized how important it is to have a place like this, a safe place. Like they said, I don't like that corny stuff, but it's a safe place where you can always come to.